In this segment, we will cover the historical uses of asbestos. The first known use of asbestos by humans is believed to be during prehistoric times. Archaeologists have discovered prehistoric pottery containing asbestos. Ancient Egyptians used asbestos-woven fabric to wrap bodies as part of the mummification process. The Persians were known to have used asbestos-woven handkerchiefs that could be tossed into a fire for cleaning. The fire would burn off everything but the asbestos, leaving a nice, clean cloth ready for reuse. This sort of novelty magic continued into the Middle Ages. After a big meal, the host would toss the tablecloth into a fire, and a few moments later pull it out undamaged and somehow now clean. The medieval conquerors would wrap asbestos cloth around flaming balls of tar to launch over castle walls. In the 13th century, Marco Polo investigated claims of a magical cloth made of salamander skin. Eventually, he visited an asbestos mine in China and learned that this was actually a mineral, not the skin of a magical lizard. During the Industrial Revolution, people started to realize the potential for asbestos use. In the 1800s, Sir William Edmund Logan, a Canadian geologist, showed samples of asbestos at a trade show in London, and people were amazed. Asbestos production exploded. Inventors all over were coming up with new ways to use this magic mineral to improve products and enhance consumer lifestyles. They began adding asbestos to household items like blankets, gloves, and ironing board covers. It was added to countless building materials like roofing, pipe insulation, and siding, all to improve strength, durability, and resistance to fire. The automotive industry found it could be added to brake pads and clutches to make their products superior. Because of the increase in demand, asbestos mining increased all over the world. Places like Thetford Mine in Quebec and Asbest, Russia, home of one of only a few currently active asbestos mine. Because of the demand, asbestos production took off. In 1858, a young entrepreneur named Henry Ward Johns, inspired by an asbestos article he read, invented a new asbestos roofing product. In the basement of his New York City apartment, Mr. Johns used the wringer on his wife's new washing machine to apply a mixture of hot water, tar, and asbestos cloth to develop a roofing shingle. In 1886, Charles B. Manville and his 3 sons founded a pipe insulation company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, called the Manville Covering Company. In 1901, Mr. Johns teamed up with Charles Manville and formed what eventually became the Johns Manville Corporation. Johns Manville at one time was producing over 80% of the world's asbestos-containing materials. Despite all of the good asbestos was being used for, there was a problem. In 1906, a London doctor by the name of Montague Murray recorded the cause of death of a 33-year-old factory worker as pulmonary failure due to asbestos fibers in the lungs. This, of course, did not go over well for the powers that be in the asbestos industry. In 1917, a 12-year-old girl by the name of Nellie Kershaw began working at an asbestos mill in England. In 1920, she became ill but continued to work until 1922, when her doctors declared her unfit to work with a diagnosis of asbestos poisoning. She eventually passed away 2 years later at the age of 33. Miss Kershaw's fight for compensation while off work due to her illness ended up being a landmark case in asbestos-related workers' compensation. At the time of her diagnosis, she was deemed ineligible for national health insurance benefits. Her doctors wrote her employer Turner Brothers Asbestos to recommend coverage under the Workers' Compensation Act. Turner Brothers not only rejected her claim, They also told their own insurance company that it would be too dangerous to accept any liability. Eventually, as a result of Mrs. Kershaw's death, Parliament issued the first asbestos industry regulation in 1931. This spelled big trouble to the asbestos industry. Asbestos industry leaders conspired to cover up information regarding health implications and asbestos exposure, stating it would be too expensive to inform the workers. So the unnecessary exposure to this not-so-magic mineral continued. In 1938, the U.S. Public Health Services published a study concluding that low levels of asbestos exposure would not cause asbestosis. The asbestos industry continued to find new ways to use it and even ramped up their propaganda to convince consumers to use more asbestos. The Canadian mining industry developed a marketing campaign titled "Anything But Chrysotile" that claimed chrysotile asbestos was safe. Eventually, this was exposed by the scientific community as their studies were flawed. In a seemingly unrelated event, Marvel introduced the Asbestos Lady superhero in the 1940s. Manufacturers developed marketing campaigns to convince consumers they wanted asbestos. Here is one from Kentile's vinyl asbestos floor tile.
Smart woman, she's putting a new floor down by herself. Wise woman, she's using Kentile vinyl asbestos tile. Easiest flooring to install, easiest flooring to care for. Save every way with Kentile vinyl asbestos tile.
Even kids' toys were targeted. This book from the 1950s shows how to make jewelry for kids out of asbestos. Asbestos also found its way to Hollywood to assist in the production of movies. The scene from the 1939 production of The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy and crew fell asleep in the poppy field. The snow that fell upon them was actually chrysotile asbestos. Asbestos snow was used in other movies as well, like Citizen Kane, Le Mans, and Holiday Inn. Asbestos was also a contaminant in other movies. During the production of Full Metal Jacket in 1987, actors reported having to work around partially demolished buildings with asbestos flying in the air.